Hello and welcome to this review of the DWARF Smart Telescope, kindly sent to me by DWARF Lab, sent out on Christmas Day as a Christmas gift. Now, I appreciate how lucky I am to just receive something like this as a Christmas gift, and the only way I can really offset that with you guys is to try and give you as much information as I can about this that's going to be useful if you're considering buying a smart telescope in general or specifically a dwarf-free smart telescope. And I can understand if you think it might be biased because I'm receiving this as a gift, but there's no obligation for me to even make a review. They just said it was a Christmas gift, but just to let them know if I make a video. In reality, there's so much to this that it's going to take several videos to cover absolutely everything, but I've got 2 nights out under the stars with it, and just know that I'll try and keep my integrity for 2 reasons. A, because it's not worth ruining my channel over by telling you something that's not true, and B, DWARF Lab really do like feedback. When I borrowed when they gave me the Dwarf 2 to review 2 years ago, it was a case of like making videos, showing what didn't work so well, emailing them. They go, oh right, we'll get on that and sort it out. And they just kept updating the firmware and the app until it really transformed the Dwarf 2 by the end of things. It really did go from being something that didn't quite work to begin with to something that worked quite well considering the optics and the size and the price point. Now, the Dwarf 3 really does take things much further. I've seen that with my own eyes over the last 2 nights. It's probably worth just running over the differences between the Dwarf 2 and the Dwarf 3. But first, you might not be aware what a smart telescope is. But if you've clicked on this to find out what a smart telescope is to begin with, you may be looking at this thinking, that doesn't really look like a telescope. And it doesn't look like a conventional telescope, but it does have optics that are similar to a conventional telescope, only you don't look through any kind of eyepiece. This has got a camera sensor built in and Wi-Fi, and you view the pictures on an app on your phone. And it's got other features that help you capture images, such as auto tracking and sort of plate solving to recognise where it is in the sky by taking pictures of the stars, recognising the pattern, so it can go to different objects for you and find them for you, so you've not got to manually hunt around for objects. It also helps you with the focus and other things as well. With its latest AI features, it does quite a lot for you now, and that's why these things are called smart telescopes. They do a lot for you and help you, so they're really good for things like outreach and travel and beginners, because there's not a steep learning curve like there is with a lot of traditional astrophotography. Now we've covered what a smart telescope is, let's look at the differences between the 2-year-old Dwarf 2 and the very latest about to be released Dwarf 3. So the Dwarf 2 has got a smaller telephoto lens. It's got a 24mm telephoto lens that has increased to 35mm, and this has got a battery with 5,500 milliamps, the Dwarf 2. The Dwarf 3 has increased that to 10,000 milliamps, only there's no door in the back, so you can remove and replace the battery. That may be something that people would have an issue with. The charging's done via USB, and if the batteries are very good nowadays, they last a long time, but you can't just buy a new battery for it as easy as you could on the Dwarf 2 and just open the hatch at the back and swap it out. That's worth bearing in mind. One big improvement for the Dwarf 3, however, other than the battery life, is that you've got built-in filters now. So in here we've got a built-in visual filter for daytime use, Astro filter for broadband targets like galaxies and star clusters, and a dual band nebulae filter which just aims to let in the light just from hydrogen alpha and oxygen free for those emission nebulas, so you can image those in light polluted sky without letting the light pollution in as well. So really good to have those built in finally. it was a different case, slightly different case with the Dwarf 2. It had like a pair of glasses that you put on the front, which I can't find at the moment, but then you screwed in these conventional bog standard 1.25 inch astronomy filters, and you could screw those in onto the front. Now we don't need to do that with the Dwarf 3, but you do if you want to observe the sun, and it includes a pair of solar glasses to filter out a lot of the light from the sun, so you can see sunspots on the sun without damaging the optics in here and without damaging the sensor, and that just magnetically clips on place. But every other filter you need is now built in. The Dwarf 2 did have a micro SD port just there behind that rubber seal, and that is no longer the case. The Dwarf 3 now has built-in memory. It's got 128 gigs of memory, which is quite a reasonable amount, I think. I think it's going to take a while to fill that up. So plenty of space for capturing raw images for stacking later, and any charging's done via the USB, and any file transfers done. You can just plug the USB cable that comes with it from here to your PC and just transfer those files over if you want to stack them and try and get the most out of the data. Or you can just see the images on the screen as you capture the image if you want to be a bit more sort of casual about your imaging and observing. What kind of imaging can you do with the Dwarf 3? Because it's got this dual lens system here. So with the telephoto lens on your left, my right, you can image things like galaxies, nebulae, and you can even capture the planets, but bear in mind that this has got a 150mm focal length. So it's kind of like a medium camera lens. It's not going to zoom in far enough to see the small planets in detail. You'd be seeing like Jupiter with the little pinprick moons orbiting either side, and Saturn will be like a tiny disk with little ears as the ring system around Saturn. It's that kind of level, kind of binocular views of the planets, but you'll be able to see larger objects like the moon. You'll be able to see lots of craters on the moon, and the sun with sunspots with those special pair of glasses as mentioned. But its forte really is deep sky objects, so things like galaxies and nebulae are where this is going to shine, and it's certainly what I found when I was out playing with it the last 2 clear nights. Other than the built-in filters now, the improved sensor, it's gone from a Sony IMX 415 to an IMX 678. Basically means it's got more dynamic range and more sensitivity, larger pixels, but it's got a longer focal length, so it's actually got better resolution. This has got 2.75 arc-second resolution compared to the Dwarf 3's 3-second arc resolution. Now, we do recommend about 1 to 2 arc-second resolution when we're doing deep sky imaging in general from sea level, because that's kind of what the atmosphere supports, but we're not too far above that at 2.75. So I did find that the stars looked nice and sharp, and there was quite a lot of detail, especially considering the very small size of this. This is about 22 centimeters long, 6 centimeters wide, I think, if I remember rightly, and it weighs 1.35 kilograms, 2.9 pounds. So very, very small. It comes with a padded bag. So when you first get it, it will come in a box like so. On the back demonstrates what you can see with it. But as you can see, that's what you get. You get a USB 3 cable, USB-C cable, sorry. You get the Dwarf 3, a bag, cleaning cloth, the solar filter, and a manual. You don't get the mini tripod of the Dwarf 2. That came with a mini tripod. However, I didn't really use that much. I always put it on my big tripod here, so it was at a better height. Because it was higher, I had a better angle over the houses and things like that. It's got the 1/4-inch thread on there, so you can use any conventional tripod with it. And whilst we're on that subject, if you have it on a tripod, you can lean it over in EQ mode, pointing towards the pole star or your celestial pole if you're in the south hemisphere. and that will allow it to rotate more smoothly with the Earth's rotation and allow longer exposures. So it's on the app, it's got like a wizard that talks you through the EQ mode and how to set that up. I will say that the wording was a little bit confusing for me. I don't know if I was tired, but I figured it out and got it up and running in a couple of minutes, and it allowed me to stretch the 15-second exposures I was getting with the Dwarf 2, and I managed to ramp that up to 30 seconds and still get round stars. But this will allow 60 seconds. But I already noticed that with the better sensor and the EQ mode, with the wizard to do it, you could do EQ mode with the Dwarf 2, but it didn't really the app didn't really sort of lend itself to that. You'd have to do that off your own back. It didn't have any kind of setup help with that. With the setup with the Dwarf 3 in EQ mode, I was getting deeper images, which I'll show you in a moment, because we're going to jump back in time and join Chris from a couple of nights ago to have a look at what we can capture with this initially, and hopefully you'll agree that the images are quite good. The first screen that comes up, you can turn your ring indicator on and off, and your battery indicator on and off if you want to really dim down the light. So if we go into photo mode, which is what I used to do, this looks very familiar to what the Dwarf 2 was like. So first of all, I'm thinking I'd probably want to focus. I'm going to have to point that lens at the sky at the moment because it's tucked away, rolled inside. Oh no, let's go to, yeah, so if I click on photo, it's giving me, this is new, it's got different options I can pick. It's got photo, video, burst, astro, time-lapse, and auto capture, and pano, which is aptly a very wide button there. So let's click on astro, and hopefully it's going to be all set up for what we need. So I'll click on focus. It's got infinity focus. So I'm going to just open up this lens as I would do on the Dwarf 2. Let's click on infinity. See, yep, it's already doing that, which is pretty good. I'm not sure if I'm doing this in the right order or not, and I've got to be quite quick because I believe my microphone's running out of, it's hanging in there. The power for my microphone it's on its last bar of energy, so I'm really against it tonight. Should be more organised. Anyway, that looks good. So I'm going to go to function, and there's an EQ mode. I'm really keen to try that out. So let's just go to EQ mode and confirm. The equatorial mode neutralises the effect of the Earth's rotation, very true, on target tracking, ensuring stable tracking during long shutter time and reducing the impact of field rotation images, which sounds amazing. It means we can take longer exposures. So let's confirm that. To ensure optimal EQ setup, please focus the DWARF Lab device first. I've already done that to ensure the stars are clearly visible. Oh, done already. Okay, so prepare the necessary, I've got all that already. Okay, apart from the compass, but I know which way is which. I'm ready. You're currently in the northern hemisphere. Mount the device on a tripod with its back facing north. Okay. Back facing north. And lens cylinder facing logo. Lens cylinder facing, does that mean down towards? I don't quite know what it means by facing logo, but I'm going to point it that way. Okay. So it's the same side as the logo. So next. Right. Please check your location. Tilt the device towards the north until the angle it makes with the horizontal is the same as the current latitude. Tilt the device towards the north until the angle it makes with the horizontal, I'm just going to tilt it north basically, towards, yeah, about there. Okay. As your current latitude is 52, so it knows my current latitude through the Wi-Fi, whatever. Letting the logo, I'm just going next. So it's checking alignment. I'm used to polar aligning, so hopefully it's going to sort of calculate whether I'm good enough with that tilt over. I think I'm roughly at about 52 degrees there. Might need to tilt it slightly down. Excellent alignment achieved. That's good. Deviation is at 4 degrees. You may proceed with your shooting. Avoid moving the tripod unit. So okay, so we're good. That means I can take longer exposures. So we've set up EQ mode right off the bat. Probably need to calibrate next. Let's go to calibrate, confirm. So I need it to align itself to, I need it to plate itself basically, take pictures of the sky and learn where it is in relation to the sky so it can actually go to the object that I want it to do. And I can see it's spinning round at the moment, so it's doing something. Right, what have we got going on here? I can see stars on the screen. They look pretty well focused. It's calibrating 2 out of 9. So there's quite a few calibration steps, but it's already on 3 out of 9. So it's doing it fairly, oh, it's done it. It's calibrated. So function again. So after calibration, then it's the atlas. So if I pick my target now, so if I pick triangulum now that we're calibrated, it's asking me to add it to a schedule. I don't think that's what I need to do. This bit's confusing me a little bit. How do I get to go to... I'll go back to Atlas again and pick it one more time. I must be missing something here. What do I press? No, it's not that. If I click on that icon, it's not doing anything. If I tap on that, it's not doing anything. Oh, okay. Point the lenses to a cloudless sky. It's done already with a dense stars, ensuring there are no obstructions. Okay, let's point the lens a bit further up. Okay, to that. So it's doing a go to processing now, which is good. Good. Check that my microphone's still working. Just by the skin of its teeth, we've still got enough power. Go to processing. Go to successful. Okay, so now, so it's tracking M33 now. So going back to function, we want to pick, we're on the telephoto lens, that's the lens that we want. Click on filter. So it's on the correct Astro filter because we're looking at a broadband target, a galaxy. If I was looking at a emission nebula, I'd pick the Duraband. So we're on the correct filter. Because I'm in EQ mode, I'm going to increase the shutter. We can probably just max it out at 60 seconds. Let's give that a go. Let's really push it. Gain, I'll keep it the 120, as I'm assuming that's what they want as a default if they've just set it that way. Let's go with 300 odd shots. Okay, so I abandoned the 1 minute exposures because when I zoomed in I noticed that the stars were trailing. So now I've dropped that down to 30-second sub exposures and I'm taking 300 of them. So far I've captured 54, and coming to check the image on the screen I've noticed 2 satellites and an aeroplane going through the image. Now that shouldn't be a problem if DWARF Lab's stacking algorithm is the sigma clipping type, because they should average out. So we'll soon find out if that's not the case. If that's not the case, then I think it would be good to introduce some kind of sigma clipping live stacking, because there are a lot of satellites and a lot of planes whizzing around the sky now. It's not the end of the world, because I'm also capturing FITS files, which are the raw files, so I can plug in a USB-C cable into the DWARF and connect that to my computer and offload all the raw files, go through them, just select the good ones without all the planes and satellites and whatnot, and the ones without any star trails, and just stack the good frames together and then process. Okay, so we rejoin the live stacked image of M33, the Triangulum. Now it's taken over 230-second shots, so that's a lot of exposure time. We're cracking on we're heading towards 2 hours of total exposure time. Still got 26% left in the battery, so we can keep on going for a bit longer. And as mentioned previously, there were some satellite trails and an aeroplane going through the image earlier, and I was wondering whether those would kind of stack out, indicating that DWARF Lab are using some kind of sigma clipping, and I think that is the case. I can see that one of the satellites is completely gone. The plane trail is almost completely gone, and there's just a faint line where the second satellite is going through the top of the image. So that's pretty much stacked out. And the signal is clearly much better than what we were getting with the Dwarf 2, and the stars look tighter, I'd say, from memory. One thing I'd say would probably do with improvement, just in my opinion, other people may disagree, but I do find the live stacked image in the Astro filter mode, the broadband filter mode, a little bit green. So I think it's a bit better if you go onto the curves, just drop the green down a touch. I think that immediately makes it look better, and perhaps even go on the red and slightly boost the red slightly. Maybe an S curve for the red, so the background's not too red. Probably about there. To me that looks a bit more natural, but I'm really nitpicking here because the signal is really great. I'm really impressed with it. It's been a very enjoyable night.
I stacked the best 90% of the FITS raw files in Deep Sky, Stacker and processed the final image in GNU Image manipulation program, which is free to download. Mode, capturing the heart nebula with over 200 times 15-second exposures.
Okay, I realise it's been quite a long video, so I'll try my hardest not to waffle on here when I summarise things. Okay, I'm impressed with the deep sky imaging with this Dwarf 3 Smart Telescope. It's certainly a leap ahead of the Dwarf 2, and the images are really clean for such a small sensor, and the detail has impressed me as well. Now, I captured the triangulum using the EQ mode and the Heart Nebula in the bog standard out azimuth mode, and that limits me to 15 seconds. So considering those were 15-second exposures, I think that's quite a good image, but I do wish I'd done that in EQ mode as well and gone deeper into that nebulae, but I can do that on subsequent nebulae on other nights, and we can cover that on other nights, as well as all the other features that the Dwarf 3's got to offer, because I really do feel like I'm just scratching the surface here with what the Dwarf 3 can do. I think it's got a lot of potential for lots of different types of imaging, bar planetary imaging, which is not going to be its forte, but I will try that out. Now, I will leave links in the description so you can check it out further if you'd like to. That would be an affiliate link, so if you did buy a Dwarf 3 through my link, I do get a commission, which really helps out the channel. So thanks in advance for anyone who chooses to do that. And I really want to give a sincere thanks to DWARF Lab for just gifting me this, which I realise is quite an incredible thing to do. So thank you so much, DWARF Lab, for doing that. And as always, I want to wish my channel members and my Patreons, thank you for the support that you give the channel. And if anyone liked this video, very long video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like it even more than that, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification for more videos, not only on the Dwarf 3, but on other things like planetary imaging, astronomy in general, lunar imaging, and other aspects. I do a little bit of everything on the channel. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I look forward to catching you guys and girls on the next video, and until then, take care, bye bye.